Okay, this is lesson 12-5 and 6, volume of prisms and cylinders. We're combining two into one. So the first thing you need to write down is right here where it says V equals capital BH. We've talked about this before. This is why I've told y'all you have to use lowercase b on other stuff because big B is what I call this one. This is referring to volume. So put a box around that, star it, whatever you need to do because that is the main volume formula. Big B changes each time according to what you're finding. So we're also out beside it going to put volume of a prism. Well, both of these are prism. So a rectangular prism, I'll do it in pink. Big B means area of the base. So somewhere on your paper, write that capital B, big B, means the area of the base. Okay, write that down. If you notice on this, the base is a rectangle or a square, and to find that area, it's length times width. So the volume of a rectangular prism is length times width times height. So then over here we have a rectangular prism. Its base is it's a triangular prism. Its base is a triangle. So the formula for area of a triangle is 1/2 base times height, little b. Now that is talking about the height of the triangle, because then we have times the height of the prism, this distance here. Okay, so it all starts with V equals big B times H. So let's look at an example. So this rectangular prism here, they give us some different measurements, and we are finding the volume. Volume is what it would be if you were to, for example, fill a 3D shape up with water. Everything inside that is the volume. So volume equals big B times H. The base is a rectangle that is length times width. So we have length times width times height. And if I notice, here's length, width, height. So I literally just plugged those three numbers in. So 4.2 times 3 times 5. When you multiply those, you get 63 cubic centimeters because we were multiplying centimeters 3 times. So it's centimeters to the third power. That's what cubic centimeters is. So y'all are going to try one of these. Try number 1. Pause the video, and then I will go over it with you. On example 1, it says find the volume of a rectangular prism with a length of 10 feet, width of 13 feet, and a height of 21 feet. You can draw a figure if you want. It doesn't matter. I'm just going to label them. They told me the length was 10 feet. The width is 13 feet, and height is 21 feet. Okay, we are finding the volume. Volume, we know, is big B times H. Big B means area of the base. Okay, well, the base of a rectangular prism is a rectangle. Area of a rectangle is length times width. So my volume is going to be length times width times height. We have length, width, and height. So we just plug those numbers in. So we have 10 feet times 13 feet times 21 feet. I do want to show we have feet times feet times feet. So your final answer is going to be something feet cubed because we multiplied it 3 times. So then we just take our calculators and multiply those numbers. So we have 10 times 13 times 21. 2,730 cubic feet is how you would say that. That is the volume of that rectangle. On example 2, we're finding the volume of a triangular prism. So we start with V equals big B times H. B is the area of the base. The base of a triangular prism, they're named by their base, is a triangle. So the area of a triangle is 1/2 base times height. So we have 1/2 times the base times the height of the triangle times the height of the whole prism. So the base of this triangle is 2. Its height would be 6. And then the height of the whole figure is 7. So we have 1/2 times 6 times 2. Well, that's easy. 6 times 2 is 12. Half of that is 6. So then we have 6 times the height of the whole figure, which is 7. So we get 42 cubic centimeters. So all you're having to remember on this is to plug into the formula. So I'm going to go ahead and give you practice on one of those. Let's do just 2A. Don't do 2B. Just try 2A, and then I will go over it with you. Okay, on 2A, we are finding the volume of this triangular prism. So again, volume we know is base times height. I don't know why I wrote W. Volume, I'm still trying to write a B. Base times height, and we know B means area of the base. The base of a triangular prism, they're named by what their base is, so it is a triangle. Area of a triangle is 1/2 the base times height of the triangle. So the volume of this triangular prism is going to be 1/2 base times height of the triangle times the height of the whole figure. So, looking at just the triangle, I have 1/2 times the base of this triangle is 6.5 inches times the height of the triangle, and they already gave us that is 8 inches, times the height of the whole figure. So times 15 inches. So again, if you look at your units, I have inches being multiplied 3 times, so it's going to be cubic inches. And we are just multiplying all those numbers together. 6.5 times 8 times 15, 780, but times 1/2 is 390. So 390 cubic inches is the volume of this triangular prism. Next, we're going to talk about the volume of a cylinder. So if you notice here, we still start with V equals big B times H. That is always where your formula starts. Big B just changes according to what your figure is. So that means the area of the base on a cylinder is a circle. So our big B is going to become pi r squared. So the volume of a cylinder, if you want to write that down, is pi r squared H. So let's look at the first example. They give us 2 to try. So find the volume of each cylinder, round to the nearest tenth, because we know we're going to have pi. Pi is a never-ending number. So on A, it's turned on its side. It says the radius of base 3 inches, height 12 inches. So the radius is 3 inches, height is 12. So the volume of a cylinder is pi r squared H. So we take pi. The radius they gave it to us is 3 inches, so we have 3 squared times 12. You have to do your exponent first before you multiply. 3 squared is 3 times 3, which is 9. Go ahead and do that times 12 before you plug in pi, since we're going to have to round when we do that, and then plug pi into our calculator and round. It is approximately, that's what those little squiggles mean, 339.3 cubic inches. That would be the volume of that cylinder. Okay, B is the same type of problem, but now it says the diameter of the base is 14 centimeters, height is 20. For our formula, we need the radius, so you have to pay attention to that. If the diameter is 14, radius is halfway, so it would be 7 centimeters. So we have 7 squared, which is 49, then times 20, then times pi, round to the nearest tenths place. So 3,078.8 cubic centimeters. Again, you are just having to plug into the formula, and you just have to pay attention whether they give you radius or diameter in the problem. So just try 1A. We won't worry about B. Try 1A. You're finding the volume of that cylinder, and then I will go over it with you. Okay, on 1A, we're finding the volume of a cylinder. So we know volume is always big B times H. Big B means area of the base of your figure. The base of a cylinder is a circle. Well, I need to write A. The area of a circle is pi r squared. So my volume is going to be pi r squared H. Now we just plug in numbers. So this is a number, so I need r and h. So if I go and look, r means radius. Radius is halfway across, so they gave us that. So I have pi times radius, which is 6.1 squared, times the height, which is the height of the whole figure, which is 12 feet. So I'm going to have feet squared times another feet, so it will still be cubic feet. Volume is always cubic because you're multiplying 3 units. So we have, it also said to round on this one. So we have 6.1 squared. You have to do your exponents first before you can multiply. Then times 12 times pi. We're going to get a really large number. 1,402 point, and we're going to round, 8 rounds up, so 0.8 cubic feet. So the volume is going to be 1,402.8 cubic feet. That's going to be our volume of the cylinder. Some of these numbers are going to be big, and don't freak out, that still means it's right. It's because we're looking, think of water. If I were to fill that with water, everywhere inside there that could be filled up is what is part of your volume. On example 2, they give us the volume of the cylinder this time. It says the volume of the cylinder is 618 cubic meters. Find the height of the cylinder, round to the nearest tenth. So this time, we know the formula since it's a cylinder, big B times H. Big B means area of your base, so it is pi r squared H. But this time, they gave us V, this side. They gave us what the total volume is, 618. Then, from the picture, we can see that the radius is 4 meters, so I know R. Pi is a number, so the only thing we're missing is H, so we can solve for that. So 4 squared means 4 times 4, which is 16, so we get 618 equals 16 pi H. Now, pi is a number, so this looks confusing, but this is no different than when we had, for example, 2x equals 12, for example. To solve for x here, we would divide both sides by 2. Okay, it's the same thing. Pi is a number. So, to get h by itself, I'm going to divide both sides of that equal sign by 16 pi to cancel it. Okay, so to figure out the height, you have to do 618 divided by 16 pi. It's going to give you a long decimal because pi is never ending. So we use the approximate symbol because we are rounding. So the height is 12.3 meters on that cylinder. So go ahead and try number 2 at the bottom. And then don't forget to round. And then I'll go over it with you. Okay, on the next problem, it says find the height of a cylinder with a diameter of 10 yards and volume of 549.5 cubic yards. Round to the nearest tenth. So in this one, it's kind of working backwards. I drew a cylinder. You don't have to. It says it has a diameter of 10 yards. We know diameter is all the way across. Then they went ahead and gave us what the volume is. It's 549.5 cubic yards. So now we take and we work backwards. We know the volume of a cylinder, big B times H, big B. It's a circle, so pi r squared H, and we are looking for H. We can figure out the radius. If the diameter is 10, halfway across would be 5. So I already know the total area equals pi times 5 squared times H. We can do that. 5 times 5 is 25. I'm just going to put it out front of pi. Now, this only looks a little confusing because pi, that is still a number. So to get h by itself, these are being multiplied. We do the opposite and divide. So we're going to divide both sides by 25 pi. Okay, so grab my calculator because we're going to get some crazy decimals. So 549.5 divided by 25, hit your pi button. And we get 69.05. We're rounding, 5 rounds up. So 69.1 yards would be our height. You could always plug it back into your formula to check and make sure you get about 549.5. Okay, that's how you can double check your answer, but we're just having to work backwards on this one. Okay, example 3, this one looks really complicated, but you just have to break it apart and then piece your answers together. So it says an art museum is placing a sculpture on the stone pedestal shown at the right. Find the volume of the pedestal. So if you notice on this, if we look at all the different shapes we have, this top and the bottom are the same shape, rectangular prisms, and then we have a cylinder connecting them. Okay, so the first thing we can do, it doesn't matter which one you start with. Let's do what they did, find the volume of the prism. So looking at this bottom prism, rectangular prism, it's a rectangle, so we know volume is big BH. The area of the base on this would be a rectangle, which is length times width. So if I notice, here's the length. They don't really give me the width there, but they give it to me at the top of it, from there to there, which is the same as the bottom of it. So the length is 1.5, the width is also 1.5. Then times the height, which they give us right here, is 0.5. Okay, so we get 1.125 cubic feet. That is just this bottom. Well, if we notice, there's two of those. So we can multiply all of that by 2 here, or just wait till you get your answer. So when we do that, the volume of two of them is 2.25, so that's the top and the bottom of that. So now we find the volume of the cylinder. So we know volume of a cylinder is pi r squared h, because it's a circle on bottom. The radius is halfway across. They give us the diameter. All the way across is 1 foot, so halfway across is 0.5. That's your radius, and the height of the cylinder is 3.5. So we have to do 0.5 squared, because that is my r squared, then times 3.5, then times pi. So we get about 2.75 cubic feet. So then we add those together to get your total, and it comes out to 5 feet. So the total volume, remember volume is everything inside of a 3D shape, 5 feet cubed. So you're going to try one of these. Again, I know these are a little more complicated. Try your best. I'm going to go over it with you. It says find the volume of the plastic building brick shown at the right. So it looks like a Lego. Round to the nearest tenth. Try that, and then we'll go over it together, and this will be the last question. Problem number 3 says find the volume of the plastic building brick shown at the right, like a little Lego brick, building brick, round to the nearest tenth. So we're finding volume, but if you notice, we have more than one shape. We have the bottom of it is a prism, then we have 2 cylinders that are the same size. So to find the volume, it doesn't matter which one you start with. You're going to do 2 separate ones. I'm going to start with cylinder. So the volume of a cylinder, we know volume is always big B H. Big B on a cylinder, it's a circle, area of your base, so that is pi r squared H for the volume of a cylinder. Now, I have 2 of them, so I could find one of them and then just multiply it by 2, or I could take this whole volume and multiply it by 2. That'll give me the area, or volume, excuse me, of both of these cylinders. So, I'm going to do that. If you notice, they gave me the distance all the way across, which is diameter. So halfway across is your radius. Half of 3 is 1.5. So I have pi times 1.5 squared times the height of those cylinders is 1 inch, all times 2. So 1.5 squared is 2.25 times 1 is just the same number. So I have 2.25 times pi then we have times 2. So 14, and again we're going to have to round 3 rounds down. So I'm going to say 14.1. That one we're in inches. So cubic inches. Now I've got to find the volume of that rectangular prism. Big B, or the rectangular, can't talk, sorry, rectangular prism. The base is a rectangle, so that is length times width times height. So if I look at the triangle, there's not a triangle, the rectangular prism. Down here's your base, okay? So we have length is 5 inches, width is 4, and the height of that is this piece, which is 12. So we just multiply those together. 5 times 4 is 20, 20 times 12. We have 240 cubic inches. So to find the total area, I take those two and add them together. So 240 plus 14.1, we get a total volume of 254.1 cubic inches. It's a lot of work, but you're having to piece them together. Sorry, I'll turn so you can still see that. 254.1.